Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Comic Beyond Dark Tales. And also, Happy Halloween. On this Halloween episode, we're going to be covering Spider-Man versus Dracula. So, our story starts off where Peter Parker slash Spider-Man, he's swinging by, and he hears an alarm going off, and there's been a break-in at a jewelry store. So, he swings in to take care of that. And then once he's done there, he decides he's going to go in and check in on Aunt May, who's like ill, and come to find out the doctor says she has like a flu, and the only thing that's going to help her is this new vaccine. And so he tells Peter Parker the only doctor who has it is traveling by boat. And so this doctor's name is Max Field, and he says that he's traveling by boat and he's going to be a couple days before he gets here, and by then it might be too late to help Aunt May. So Peter Parker's like, well, not for me. I actually have a way I can help Aunt May. So Peter Parker takes off and he swings to the Baxter building of the Fantastic Four, and he talks to Johnny Storm, and he's like, Johnny, I need your help. There's this boat coming into the harbor, but it's 3 days away, but they have the medicine I need to help Aunt May. So Johnny's like, well, I got something that can help you. Reed just fixed it last night or finished working on it, and it's like this like supersonic Fantastic Four space age jet. And so Johnny's like, I already programmed the autopilot to get you to where you need to go, and then it'll bring you back. So Peter or Spider-Man uses this jet to get him to this boat. And so he kind of like gets to it, and he's dressing down. He's like, I can't just walk around the ship dressed as Spider-Man. I'll be like Peter Parker while I'm here. And so while he's there, he doesn't know, but Dracula is also there looking for this doctor because he wants to prevent this doctor from having the vaccine. So Peter Parker and Dracula literally walk past each other and like bump into one another. And Peter Parker is apologizing, and Dracula is telling him how rude he is because he's not paying attention for bumping into him. So Peter Parker, he's looking around and he finds this costume party, and he's trying to ask people about this doctor. And so while he's asking around, Dracula's outside the party, and he's like, I need to feed. He's like, I need to drink. And so he goes up to this girl that's sitting out on the deck, and she's dressed like as an Asgardian. So he goes to try to like bite her and feed off of her, but he didn't realize she was in the middle of having her picture taken, and so there was this guy who snapped a picture of him and Dracula and this girl. And so Dracula storms off or whatever out of frustration, and they pull the Polaroid out of the camera, and Dracula's not in it. And then the guy's like, huh, he must be photosensitive. So that was kind of funny. So Dracula finds this other girl, and he feeds off of her. She screams, which has Peter come to her aid, just to find out that she has these bite marks in her neck. So meanwhile, you got Peter and or Spider-Man, and you got Dracula looking for this doctor. But there are also these other guys, this other guy who's on the ship who also wants this doctor because he wants the vaccine in order to sell it. And so he has all his goons, they're dressed up for the costume party running around the ship looking for this doctor. And so Dracula thinks he knows who this guy is, so he goes after the guy that took the picture. He thinks he's the doctor. And so does Spider-Man. And so does this guy and his goons. And so they all get into their tussle, so they all start fighting. So Spider-Man's fighting the goons. Dracula's also fighting them. Dracula does like this mine thing to them and has them jumping off the side of the ship into the water. And so Dracula, he gets to the guy who he thinks is Maxwell. And so he goes and tosses him over, or Maxfield. Dracula gets him and tosses him over the edge of the ship. Spider-Man leaps down, saves him, um, and Dracula takes off in his bat form, and thinking he had killed him. And so, come to find out, the guy who took the picture wasn't the doctor. The girl that was dressed in, like an Asgardian was the actual doctor. And so Peter or Spider-Man explains to her what's going on and why he's there. And so she agrees to help Spider-Man. And so she's like, if we gotta go, we gotta go now because the vaccine has to stay cold. And he's like, no problem. I have a jet. It'll take us right to where we need to go. So that's what they do. And then, so it doesn't show it, but obviously he got the vaccine to Aunt May and saves Aunt May. And then in the last, like, few panels, you see a bat flying to a castle, to an open coffin, and then Dracula takes form. And so Dracula, he gets to his castle before the sun, or as the sun's coming up to rest. So, not necessarily like overly a horror comic, but it was a very fun, like, funny comic. Like, it was almost like a Ablert and Costello meet the monsters type of funny comedy for like Dracula, and then like the humor that Spider-Man has and stuff like that. There's a lot of jokes and gags kind of sprinkled throughout the story, that I enjoyed, and then just kind of seeing Dracula being annoyed with everybody on the ship that he's coming across because they're just measly humans, um, things for him to feed on. But he's like, he just gets so annoyed because he's there for one purpose, and he has to keep these human obstacles in his way, and then Spider-Man being there. And so I don't know. I found the humor in this very funny. So I read this because I actually do own the giant size Dracula that this is based off of. So I have the back issue of it, but I also have the reprinted issue that they put out in the 90s, which is just titled Spider-Man versus Dracula. And it just has the printed copy of the Dracula portion of the story. It doesn't have the Johnny Storm Spider-Man adventure that goes with it. But it was a very fun story. It's definitely worth reading if you can get your hands at least on the reprint. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun Dracula Spider-Man. So that's this Halloween episode. I hope you like it, and until next time, I'll talk to you later.